Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, where it is our mission to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. We welcome all to be part of us, including all racial identities, ethnic backgrounds, ages, economic circumstances, educational achievements, judicial histories, immigrant status, mental health status, sexual orientations, and gender identities. UUFNN is about compassion and support, not judgment. I'm JJ Lee, and I serve as your worship associate this morning. We at UUFNN love having new people join us for worship. And if that's you, feel free to contact the office or go to our website for more information. You can also click on the link in the chat box. You can fill out the newcomer form there and sign up for our newsletter, and that will keep you informed of all the activities here at UUFNN. For those meeting on Zoom with us today, and today, that's all of us, please update your name on screen to help everyone know who you are. And feel free to use the chat box for comments, especially during prayer and meditation. Folks on Zoom, you're invited at the end of our service into small groups for coffee hour. We'll break into small groups to visit virtually face-to-face. Wherever you are worshiping from today, thank you for being with us this morning.
Well, good morning on this snow-driven day. My name is Bob Alto, and I am your worship leader, and I go by the pronouns he, him, his. Certainly, we've battled the cold, and now we're on Zoom, all of us, and not in person. But thank goodness the sun is shining, and it's a brand new day. May I say, despite a difficult year in politics and health and economics, we are still here. I slipped off a bed and broke my neck. Could have been paralyzed, but I wasn't, thank goodness. We have come together here to find community, to find solace, to connect with each other, and feel that sense of community, that togetherness, that here, that we're all sharing exactly on Zoom today. We want to find community. Now, again, we come because of the messages, the spirit, the music, the perspectives and awareness of life. And we are fed, we're renewed, we are refocused to meet the daily challenges of our world and personal life. Today, as we move and transition to this new year of 2023, I think it's the first time I've said it out loud. I am framing from the past and present our hopeful, personal, and collective objectives, reflections, or changes into three parts. The first is remembrance, the second is resolution, and the last is revolution. I hope you'll be adventuresome on this journey with me, filled with good humor, definition, testimony, and experience. Gahil Gibran said, "Turtles can tell more about the road than hares." Namaste.
I invite everyone at home to light their own chalice as I light mine and share these words by Mary Oliver. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it. And when the time comes to let it go, to let it go.
We come from the fire, living in the fire, go back to the fire, turn the world around.
We come from the fire, go back to the fire, turn the world around.
We come from the fire, living in the fire, go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water, go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water, go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water, go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Whoa, oh, so is life. Ah, so is life. Whoa, oh, so is life. Ah, so is life. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do I know who I am? See we one another clearly. Do we know who you are? Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Whoa, so is life, Abatiwa. So is life. Whoa, so is life, Abatiwa. So is life. Water make the river, river wash the mountain. Fire make the sunlight turn the world around. Heart is of the river, body is the mountain. Spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the Spirit, truly of the Spirit. Only can the Spirit turn the world around. We are of the Spirit, truly of the Spirit. Only can the Spirit turn the world around. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are?
See we one another clearly.
Do we know who we are?
Do you know who I am?
Do I know who you are?
See we one another clearly.
Do we know who we are?
Oh, so is life about you are. So is life. Oh, so is life about you are. So is life. Oh, so is life about you are. So is life. Oh, so is life about you are. So is life. Oh, so is life about you are. So is life. Whoa, so is life about you are. So is.
Well, so is life. Another R word could be used with the three that I'm going to share with you today, and that would be reflection. And we're going to do a little bit of that as we go through the three parts that I'm going to discuss. And we're going to have a close your eyes exercise. If you're at home with a pencil and paper, you might want to put it on paper, but closing your eyes and using your creative ability to do the things I'll ask is fine. Now, again, as we look at our journey through 2022, we want to think of the highs and the lows, but we also want to focus on the positive blessings and gifts that came our way. Positive moments that made small or large impressions. The small impression can last even longer. We might think of the example of getting $5,000, somebody giving it to you as part of a will or a gesture. Or for me, getting 70% discount on sheets you have been longing for. That's great. Now, again, just to show you the kindness of strangers as we do our journey. One time in my life, I actually hitchhiked from Utah to Pennsylvania for Christmas. But I did it with $2.65, which, by the way, I lost in Las Vegas. And then I hitchhiked by plane. You heard me right, by plane. See me for details. A true life example of just a minuscule gesture or gift is the man who survived jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. He was there to commit suicide. But he didn't die, but he lived. But this is what he said: if only one person would have smiled at me or asked how I was doing, things would have been different. I would have stopped. In our own community, you heard the report on the outpouring of gifts for the Women and Children's Center, making a cake or food for the Reno Posse, raising funds for a monthly nonprofit. All those are little moments, but yet they bring joy, not only to the giver, but to the receiver. Now, I want you to think of your personal responses. What happens to you when you receive a gift and are blessed by someone else? So it's not only about giving the gift, it's also receiving the gift. I'd like you to think now of someone who stood up for you, taught you about the cautions and dangers, as well as the joys of life. I can think of many on each side of the coin. My life vision, just a small instance, was changed by Miss Thurman's 5th grade class, where I sang the part of the captain in HMS Pinafore, Act 1. It was from that experience, I am the captain of the Pinafore, right good captain too. It was from that I learned the art of performance, and from that interest in and love for live theater performances. There was a large piece of paper sign across one of my classes in junior high. Time passes. Will you? Here's just a little humor. Cheers to another year and another chance to get it right. Now's our first exercise. So I'm going to ask you please to close your eyes. You can keep them open if you want to. And I want you in your mind's eye to look for the gift you were given this year in 2022 and make it a point of celebration. So let's just take a few seconds to examine that. Gifts given to you and a gift that made an impact, whether it's large or small. You can open your eyes now, but I want you to think of that gift and I want you to cherish it as you move into 2023. So be it.
This is the time in our service when we have the opportunity to share our bounty with each other. It is through through your generosity, all of our generosity and dedication that we here at UUFNN are self-sufficient. By each of us stepping forward and offering what we can, we provide support for all that we do for each other and the wider community. Please share what bounty you can today by texting 73256. Type UUFNN in the message box and hit send. You can also mail a check to the office at 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno 89511. Or if you want to simplify the process, you can sign up for automatic giving. Contact Carol at the office for the authorization form. Our Share the Plate recipient for January is the Eddy House. The Eddy House is a daytime drop-in center and overnight shelter for homeless, runaway, foster, and other at-risk youth. The 24-hour facility includes an overnight shelter for up to 23 residents and a community living program for 29 individuals where they learn life skills to assist in becoming independent. Through partnerships with other community programs, Eddy House provides vital life skill classes, workforce development, healthcare assistance, and counseling. Outreach staff goes into the community, distributes items such as water, blankets, and food to potential clients experiencing homelessness. The transitional living program consists of off-campus, independent, low-cost housing. This is the final step that allows youth to save money and increase their independence. The Eddy House has served approximately 700 youth this year. Recent food donations have been lower than in past years, and funds that we donate will be used to buy food and meals. Please help the Eddy House assist homeless youth find safe and permanent housing. Now let the offering begin. Please join me as we bless these offerings. To the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy, we dedicate ourselves and these offerings.
Now we talked about remembrance. Now we're going to focus on resolution. The definition of resolution is a decision or determination, a firmness of purpose. The Milwaukee Journal says it's a change of behavior. You've probably heard some people say, well, whatever works, do it. Whatever works, do it. I'm a, I don't know, culture fanatic. I like present day culture as much as I love theater. And believe it or not, I do subscribe to People magazine. Now, of course, that's to keep up on current culture. But it's interesting to me, they always focus on personalities. And it's a reminder that all our lives, whether we are well-known or not, or famous or not, have the same experiences, meaning sadness, grief, happiness, joy. Rob Lowe on his cover said, "How I Survived Hollywood." Drew Barrymore on her cover, "Finding My Way Back to Happiness." Shania Twain, "Tragedy, Heartbreak, Triumph." Bob Alto, "He never saw the death by drowning of his daughter." I was crossing the Nevada desert, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, and I heard a Pentecostal preacher say the following. He said, "Life is sometimes slugging through the mud. You slug and you slug with the hope that you can climb someday the mountain before you. Well, the slug turns to solid ground and you climb the mountain. And there you are looking down on the mud that you've slugged through. Now," he said, "remind yourself that when you're on a mountain, there is a valley. And when you're in the valley, that there's a mountain." Tyler Perry, the filmmaker, who's also an actor, and you probably know him as Medea, had an article about him, and some questions were asked. You hit rock bottom before any of this success was within your reach. Can you take us to that moment? It was the early 90s here in Atlanta. I had this dream of being a playwright, and I had written a play called I Know I've Been Changed, which was about child abuse survivors and the power of prayer. I was working as a bill collector, and I had saved $12,000. I spent all my money to put this play up, and it didn't work. I lost it all. After that, I tried again many, many times to produce the play. I would get different jobs between those times, but I'd quit work on the play and end up homeless. For 3 months, I lived in a Geo Metro that I was hiding from the repo man. The despair, the suicidal thoughts, the overwhelming feeling of not wanting to live in that kind of moment, that was real. And yet you never gave up, says the interview. The play succeeded. That never give up thing came from my mother and my aunts and the ministers and the preachers in my family. I can trace the preachers back to slavery. My great, 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 great grandfather was a minister. That faith is in my DNA. Another moment, and again, we're kind of at this moment in time thinking of resolution to yourself and to others. What are you determined to do for yourself? And what are you determined to do for others? Sometimes we have to find the balance because you can do too much for others and not enough for yourself. So we always have to seek the balance. And sometimes, as determined and resolved as we are, we make mistakes. And sometimes the understanding of that goes to professionals and cannot always be solved by ourselves. There's a wonderful ending to Gypsy, the song about Gypsy Rose Lee, the stripper. Her mother in the musical has sacrificed so that Gypsy, in this case, Louise, her daughter, can be successful. And so she charges full bore, and it doesn't matter who's in the way, she will get what she wants for her daughter. But guess what? Her daughter becomes successful, and her daughter doesn't need her anymore. So at the end of Gypsy, we have the lament. Hold your hats and hallelujah. Mama's gonna show it to you. Ready or not, here comes Mama. Mama's talking loud. Mama's doing fine. Mama's getting hot. Mama's going strong. Mama's moving on. Mama's all alone. Mama doesn't care. Mama's letting loose. Mama's got the stuff. Mama's letting go. Well, someone tell me, when is it my turn? Don't I get a dream for myself? Starting now, it's going to be my turn. Gangway world, get off my runway. Starting now, I bat 1,000. This time, boys, I'm batting 1,000. Everything's coming up roses. Everything's coming up rose. Everything's coming up roses. This time for me. So can we take a moment now, close our eyes, and think of your purpose and your gift that you can give to yourself, but the gift that you can give to others as well. What is it? What will it be? You can open your eyes, reminding yourself that we talked about the gift someone else gave you. And now we've talked about the gift you have given yourself or you have given to others. As we move into a new year, those are considerations that we might want to think about and explore. And so with that said, so be it.
I have always been fascinated by the notion of change and transformation. What's the difference, you ask? Well, perhaps these jokes will sum it up for you. The head lesbian is talking to a crowd of other lesbians. This crowd of lesbians is frustrated by the slowness of change in our culture. Sensing the rousing of the rabble and worried the gals might give up, the head lesbian makes a speech in which she declares, "Today is the day we will experience a change." And the crowd of lesbians all cheers. The head lesbian announces, "Yes, a change of underwear." And again, the crowd goes nuts. The head lesbian proceeds, "Jay, you change with Riley. Sawyer, you change with Ryan. Peyton, you change with Quinn. By the way, I can make lesbian jokes if you're hetero. Maybe not so much, okay? Just saying. Now, here's transformation in a nutshell. My dad had a houseboat he named Indestructible. A nasty New England winter storm collapsed the storage shelter where his boat was awaiting summer. He got a new boat with the insurance. Its name, Indestructible 2. So despite the less than hysterical jokes, Let's just agree to define change as something occurring to make a thing different, and transformation as something occurring to make a different thing. Thinking of the concept in this way allows me to reflect differently about New Year's resolutions and how I will respond to this convergence of the old and new years. Consider the paradigm that many of us live by. Have, do, be. In this paradigm, first revealed to me during my reading of Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh back in 2002, most of us believe and live by the notion that if only we could have the things we want, we would do stuff with these things and we would be in a more glorious state. For example, one might say, if I had more money, I would do only things I prefer and I would be happy. Have, do, be. This is a transactional way of interacting with the universe that says my happiness can only come from acquisition. And if I don't acquire, I can't be the way I want. But remember, we are not called human havings or human doings. We are called human beings. Now consider the reversed paradigm: be, do, have. This notion says by being the thing we want to have, say happiness, for example, we more naturally do and have the things we want. We're in a state of flow. In this state, the concept of manifestation becomes realized, made real through action. For example, say I decide to be happy. So I do the things happy people do when they're happy. I smile at passersby. I whistle whilst I work. I hug my wife for no apparent reason. Doing comes more naturally, organically, almost automatically. But even if it doesn't, if I decide to do what happy is, either way, I have more happiness. This paradigm is transformational. Living in this way gives us the opportunity to be a whole new thing from the inside out, rather than living in a transactional form. Universe or job or kids, you give me what I want, then I will do things for you that you want, and we will all be satisfied. We can begin to live with a sense of abundance. We experience connection with ourselves, others, the earth. Okay, but what, you would be shrewd to ask, have these paradigms to do with New Year's resolutions, reflections on past and turning forward, repentance, renewal, any other R word you can think of? Well, let's find out. I'll be the guinea pig or the test subject, but you can feel free to imagine your own heart's desire along with me. Here's one of mine. I want to have a better relationship with time. There never seems to be enough of it. And when I have it, I'm often so exhausted, I just sleep through it. Then once again, I have no time. So my first step is to take a moment and get very clear that what I really want is more time. Maybe I would call this way to be time-free or just free. So I allow myself to embrace the idea of me with all the time in the world. It's infinite, and I can have as much of it as I want. I see myself having this abundance of time. I'm free. I am free. Next, if you're doing this with me, I envision having this abundance of time, this freedom. What will my life be like when I have all this time? How will I be? How will I feel? What will I see, hear, and touch? What will I taste and smell when I am free, having all the time in the world? here's what might happen were I to feel and sense those things now. With all the time in the world, my heart rate slows, my muscles soften. I hear the patter of my pup's paws scampering. At the same time, I hear a cough, the sibilance of my S's, and even my own breath breathing itself, a sure sign that I am still alive. When I have all the time in the world, I see little 1-inch Zoom faces looking back at me, some with interested kindness. I sense the electricity traveling along the wires of our technology, and I imagine them dispatching, my guess is, millions of packets of ones and zeros out to our members at home that turn into the words I speak here and now. With this abundance of time, I taste the fresh mint of my almost evaporated morning brush, a slickness of teeth with my tongue, and if I'm really tuning in, maybe a bit of cinnamon as well from my hastily ingested breakfast. And then feeling gratitude and expansiveness and peace start to pour from inside of me, back into me, and also toward you like a faucet wide open. And now, feeling these things, I imagine that these are not the same old feelings that are made different, but entirely new feelings made by my not indifferent experience. And then I know I can do this anytime I want to. I can seek occasions to feel these feelings in any moment. Time is now transformed, and I have all of it that I could ever want anytime I ask, like endless pasta and breadsticks at Olive Garden. You at home can practice with anything you want, a relationship with the person of your dreams, a satisfying job, whatever you want. See for yourself if you don't end up happier in your relationships, satisfied at work, because you start doing the things that people do when they have these things. Okay, so maybe I still haven't made the connection about New Year's resolutions clear. So let's practice a few of these New Year's transformational resolutions together. Take a moment to think about, or even better, jot down a to-be list for 2023. What do you want to be this year? As you write, I'll give a couple of examples. I am health. I am serenity. I am confidence. Go ahead and think about or jot down a few of these for yourself. We'll take a moment. Now, for each of these states of being, how can you realize them? Make them real by your action. What would you do? For example, if you are healthy, what would you do? If you are confident, what would you do? If you are serene, what would you do? I might take a walk with my wife and dogs. I might stand or sit tall and stately as the Buddha himself. I would look for beauty like a camera searching for the perfect shot. Go ahead and write down or reflect on what you would do with your to-be list. Take a moment now. So instead of goals that seem like punishments about behavior change, where we lapse and return and lapse and return by our very nature, consider this year a shift from the inside out. What a wonderful way to transform that which we want into that which we already are. without changing a thing. I invite us now to set our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits to our time of community prayer and meditation. Sometimes we forget that we are not human beings trying to have a spiritual experience, but rather we are spirits embodied, trying to figure out what it is to have this human body with all of its human experiences. We forget, though King David reminds us in Psalms, "Wonderful are thy works, thou knowest me right well." Yet we try to perfect what is already divine within us. We come with gratitude today for opportunities to see our divine likeness with a bit less unyielding judgment, a tad less punishing criticism. We open to the infinite, asking for whatever it is we need for healing, for forgiveness, for strength, whatever it is we need to be whole. I invite you to record your blessings and burdens in the chat box so that we can hold them as one community together. We ask the divine to help us remember we are one community held together through trial and error, during aspiration and relapse, in despair and hope, despite fear and with love. So we make our gesture to ourselves and each other, one hand on our heart, the other extended outward in a silent expression to say, I see you, I hear you. We are here for each other. Amen.
Well, we have examined remembrance, and we've looked at resolution. Now we'll look at revolution. Whereas resolution is a change in behavior, revolution is a change in mentality. This is where we go beyond the norm and challenge ourselves to think or act out of the box. Michael Josephson said, as we approach the new year with resolve, we hopefully will find opportunities in each day. I'd like to share the words of the musical Mame. Now, Auntie Mame was an avant-garde, independent, and free-spirited who, with these words, admonishes her nephew. If you wake up every morning and you pull aside the shutter, and you've promised me that these will be the first words that you utter. Open a window, open a new door, travel a new highway that's never been tried before. Before you find your dull fellow, punching the same clock, walking the same tightrope as everyone on the block, the fellow you ought to be is three-dimensional, soaking up life down to your toes. I like to think of the Georgia pro football player who, when dating, elects not to go for coffee. It's not a coffee date, but it asks his date to bring a plastic bag to collect trash. As the spokesman on TV said, all around us, people are meeting the challenge. I don't think, or you could possibly be the secret Santa who gave away $100 bills over the course of his lifetime. That mounted up to more than $1 million. Now he passed the secret Santa on to somebody else. But when the new secret Santa was asked, what do you get out of it? He said, it's not what I do for someone else, but see the changes in them because of what I do. And they go and do more. Or how about the guy who stands on the street corner in the Bay Area and just waves and smiles to people who go to work? And he's been doing it for 20 plus years. When he's not there, people are concerned. Now here's another musical that I'd like to quote from, and it's from Funny Girl. And Fanny Brice is the central character. And she struggled to become a comedian and be taken seriously when she was starting her career. This is Don't Rain on My Parade. Don't tell me not to fly, I've simply got to. If someone takes a spill, it's me and not you. Who told you you're allowed to rain on my parade? I'll march my band out, I'll beat my drum. And if I'm fanned out, your turn at bat, sir. At least I didn't fake it, hat, sir. I guess I did make it. But whether I'm the rose of sheer perfection, a freckle on the nose of life's complexion, the cinder or the shiny apple of its eye, I'm gonna fly once, I'm gonna try once, only can die once, right, sir? Oh, life is juicy, and you see, I gotta have my bite, sir. I want to inspire you that we can be bold. That word bold, B-O-L-D. There is a fellow in my building, his name is Chris. I ran into Chris the other day and he said, I sold it all. I said, what? I sold everything. I gave all my belongings to the realtor. I sold my place and I'm going to travel the world. Chris is 54 years old. He's put his life into 2 pieces of luggage. And on Tuesday, he takes off to see the world. Patagonia, Argentina, Antarctica, Mexico, Europe are all on his agenda. We can be active with small gestures. There's the 5-minute challenge. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but you can just take 5 minutes to do something. It's maybe empty a drawer. Maybe it's to do some sit-ups. Maybe it's to write a letter. Maybe it's to send an email. Maybe just compose a text with emojis. Make an impetuous phone call. Do 10 sit-ups. Donate 2 items. Think of the Reno Posse. Your anti-main moment. Choose your window. And so be it. Well, thank you for joining us and coming out on this beautiful snow-laden day. Again, please be aware that there are opportunities for spiritual development. Please watch your email. If you're new and would like to receive emails and information, please fill out the online card. We are mindful of the Reno Posse and their needs. And again, you can see that on our website. Again, we'd like to ask the Zoom folks, which is all of us, to stay on for online coffee hour.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of auld lang syne? For auld lang syne, my dear, for auld lang syne, we'll tack a cup o' kindness yet for auld lang syne.
And may we be reminded of our service today as we transition into a new year, a new chapter of our lives. I love the words written by Dana Worsnop in her selection, I Want to Be with People. I want to be with people who are willing to walk the tightrope that is life and who will hold my hand as I walk mine. I want to be with people who support, encourage, and even challenge each other to higher, more ethical living. I want to be with people who inspire one another to follow the call of the Spirit. And indeed, as we transition, I want you to think of the three things that I talked about, and of course, the transition that JJ talked about. And they are remembrance, resolution, and revolution. Remembrance, holding dear the gifts others or circumstances have given you. Resolution, the blessing of the gift you have shared and kept you in balance. And resolution or revolution, taking the opportunity to do good and open a new window in the process. So let us go forth after this meeting. And I wish you all a very happy new year. And so be it, and namaste. Why not?
You should be able to join the breakout rooms. Breakout room.
I'll break out of your room, take the what now, that old blue thing. Driver, tractor. Friend.
Diane, do you want to join the breakout room? Oh, I need to ask you to unmute, I guess. Oh, good. Okay.